Avengers! Assemble.
Hello everyone, thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subject comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books, I love talking about them, I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that'll have plot synopsis and character bios for this issue, The West Coast Avengers number 43 from 1989. Written and penciled by the one and only John Byrne. Here we have a striking cover. We've got the Scarlet Witch, the Wasp, Hawkeye, Wonder Man. Now, I don't like this costume of Wonder Man. Not my favorite. And then Tigra. So John Byrne penciled and inked the cover himself. And it's kind of cool seeing him use screen tones. Normally, John Byrne doesn't use screen tones. But he's going to start experimenting not only with screen tones, but he's also going to start doing dual tones and zipper tones when he takes over Namor. So, Vision Quest. And Hawkeye here, look at this. You betrayed us. You, he says. So... And then we've got our credits page here. A twisting tale of tragedy and betrayal brought to you by John Byrne, writer and penciler, and Mike, do you say Macklin? Inker, maybe it's Machlin, but I think Macklin sounds better. So Howard Mackie, who will end up becoming writer on Spider-Man. And then Tom DeFalco was editor-in-chief during this time. But then Tom DeFalco would be replaced by Bob Harris, and Tom DeFalco would go down to writer. He'd have a long time writing with Thor, with his buddy Ron Frenz here. And so, look at this. This part's a little weird here. Looks like almost two hands holding each other. So this part's, like I said, this part's a little weird. Again, screen tones being employed here. So nice image of it's, even though it's not an action image, it does I like the way the face just says it, or looks here angry and stuff. Oopsie. And it's, of course, Hawkeye's former wife, or soon-to-be ex-wife, Mockingbird here. So I decided to make the page just a little bit bigger, and so we've got the top portion of the page here. We got the Wasp saying, "Calm down, Hawkeye," and Wonder Man, who has a mullet, and you can see kind of the part of the style with the long hair in the back and the mullet in the front. Yeah, Wasp is right. Take a couple of deep breaths, Clint. There's got to be more to this than there seems. And Hawkeye's like, blow it out your ear, Wonder Man. Why shouldn't this be just what it seems? Why shouldn't we just accept the fact that we've been sold out by my wife, says Hawkeye here. And Mockingbird says, that's what I've liked best about you, Hawk. You always look for the logical answer to every question. And so John Byrne's letting us know we're at the Avengers compound in Los Angeles. And here we have Hank Pym. And he says here, all right, Mockingbird, we're willing to listen to whatever you have to say. What's your connection with the computer virus that's affected our system? And then Scarlet Witch says, and what do you know about the disappearance of my husband? You know, it's so comic book that she's married to essentially a robot, a cyborg. What would you say? An AI? Just comic books, I tell you. And so Mockingbird says, well, in order, I'm the one who let in the computer boys to who planted that virus, Dr. Pym. And number two, I'm the one who choreographed the kidnapping of the Vision. And I'm sorry I did. And then look at Hawkeye. Sorry? Sorry? I'm not hearing this. And Scarlet Witch, Hawkeye, stop. Bobby, which is Mockingbird's name, I think you owe us all some kind of explanation. And Mockingbird says, I know I do, Wanda. You most of all. But the only thing I can say is I've been had. And I look at Hawkeye. Had, he says here. And so Mockingbird continues to explain now, this is not exposition. This was not revealed to us. So this will be new for us as readers as well. I have all these issues. By the way, I have an Avengers playlist. I have all these issues, but it's like I've mentioned in the past, it's easier for me to show them digitally. I haven't read this since probably 90. Oh my God. I haven't read these since probably the 90s. So I remember a little bit of these, but not not too much. So as I'm reading them with you, I'm sort of reading them for the first time since then. So all right. So again, Mockingbird continues. After you and I did our big split, I went off, mostly sat around being angry. Angry at you, angry at me, angry at the circumstances that brought us together, and the one that tore us apart. Then one day there was a knock at the door. Miss Morse, I'm Shield operative Frank Hampton. I've been sent to call you in. And so Mockingbird continues. I keep trying to remember if there was anything at that moment that should have made me suspicious. So here we go. And Mockingbird continues, but there wasn't. He looked like S.H.I.E.L.D. He sounded like S.H.I.E.L.D. Heck, even smelled like S.H.I.E.L.D. The strange mixture of metal and leather and bottled air. So I went with him. And I was introduced to the head of the project they called Vigilance. He said his name was Cameron Brock, and in 2 words, he told me what the special project was all about. And so Cameron says, the Vision. And so here we go. Cameron says, as you know, Miss Moore, some months back, the Vision tapped into every computer system on this planet and seized control of America's nuclear arsenal. His goal was nothing less than world domination. Like the screen tones being used here. I like screen tones, so anytime people find creative ways to use them, I always compliment it and point it out here. And so Mockingbird says, I reminded him that the Vision had been, well, unhinged at that time and was now fully recovered. And Cameron says, we know that, Miss Morse. We also know that steps were taken to supposedly guarantee such a thing cannot happen again. And so long as the Vision seemed content to stay in New Jersey playing house with the Scarlet Witch, we had no problem. But that has changed. The Vision and his wife are now both once again active Avengers, and that gives them access to the Avengers computer systems. That's what Vigilance is all about, Miss Morse. We are charged with keeping a watchful eye on everything the Vision does every day. But there's more. There is an additional part to this project, and that's where you come in. How's that? I asked, says Mockingbird. I like how John Byrne just continues with the those what would you, just a panel, right? Because these would be speech balloons and this would just be a panel. So all right, you're in a unique position, having been both a S.H.I.E.L.D. operative and an Avenger. S.H.I.E.L.D. now wishes to make use of that knowledge you have gleaned as a member of that team to help in the creation of an emergency plan, a plan to guard against the eventuality of the Vision once more attempting to gain global mastery. We need your help to work out all necessary elements involving penetrating Avengers compound and seizing the Vision. One of the things that I find interesting is that Shield is not supposed to be a United States. Um, it's supposed to be like the UN. It's supposed to be a world thing. Um, but most of the time it ends up being a United States thing, even though I don't think that's what Shield's supposed to be. They're an international. I believe the I in Shield is for international. So I thought about I thought about it for a while and then I said yes and Hawkeye again. What? Just like that, you decided to help a bunch of half-glass James Bond groupies attack us? Where the heck is your loyalty, lady? All right. And so Mockingbird says, attack was never supposed to be part of the plan, Clint. The whole thing was supposed to be uh, theor- theoretical. Just a contingency plan. As to loyalty, that happens to be to my country. I didn't join S.H.I.E.L.D. because I thought it would be a fun way to kill the afternoon. I joined because I believed in what they stood for. I still do. So I helped them. They quartered me right there. Lap of luxury. Real S.H.I.E.L.D. style. With my knowledge of Avengers' compound security system and codes, I was able to create a scenario in which a small team of agents could do the job without tripping any alarms. Excellent, Agent Morse. Excellent. You've done your job better than we'd hope. I said thank you, but I really wasn't so sure. So a couple of days later, I decided to access the computer files on my plans and see if I couldn't do a little fine tuning. That's when I found something that had nothing to do with my scenario. Ultron. So everything was there in the computer. The plan to use a duplicate Ultron to battle the Avengers while the computer team accessed the main system and another squad grabbed the Vision. Even the very nasty wrinkle of planting a post-hypnotic suggestion in Wanda as she slept so she couldn't use her mutant hex power against their Ultron. I was appalled. The new additions to my plan were stupid and reckless. I went to Brock and demanded they be removed. Avengers could get hurt fighting the fake Ultron, I said. Worse, if that real Ultron should happen to attack the Avengers, that post-hypnotic suggestion could get the Scarlet Witch killed. Love this. John Byrne is such a good storyteller. Brock listened very politely and then said, I'm very sorry to see you take this stance, Agent Morse. You'll understand that we cannot possibly allow you to remain at liberty under the circumstances. And so, well, if that wasn't enough to convince me these bozos weren't really S.H.I.E.L.D., their fighting style was. They were pathetic. So, you can see her dismantling them. They were also very treacherous. I remember a sharp pain in the back. A sudden feeling that I was about to lose every lunch I ever had. Then nothing. I expected to wake up dead. Instead, I found myself in a maximum security cell. I recognized the style from S.H.I.E.L.D.'s briefing. It was KGB. The Russians. Always the Russians. So... And so Hank Pym says, KGB, you mean it was the Russians behind all this? And Mockingbird says, it sure looks that way, Hank. But Tigra says, but why would they? Rah! Oh, sorry, excuse me. Why would the Russians want to grab the Vision? So John Byrne is setting up something else here. That's why you see this, her kind of break a little bit. So just FYI, this will come back at it eventually. So Mockingbird says, I'm not entirely sure, of course, Tigra, but I'd be willing to bet the reasoning weren't too far from the story they handed me. The Vision successfully tapped into virtually every computer system on Earth. He had access data so sensitive, even some heads of state don't have security clearance high enough to see what he saw. I'm betting the Russians want to make certain the Vision has no memory of whatever Soviet secrets he learned. Or, says Hank Pym, they might be interested in learning what other nations' security data he might still retain. And Mockingbird says, yes, if his memory was not completely cleared of that stuff, then when he was restored to sanity, he could be a real treasure trove of secret information. And then Wonder Man says, but why didn't you come to tell us this sooner, Mockingbird? Obviously, you escaped the bad guys. And Mockingbird says, obviously, Simon, but only 2 hours ago. It took me nearly 3 weeks of biding my time before I was able to sucker punch my guard into my cell with a yoga breath exercise that simulated my own death. Like I said, these goons were not very good. I got out of that installation, changed into my fighting togs to be ready for action, and managed to arrive too late to be able to do anything to help the Vision. So we get the Scarlet Witch here. But Bobby, I still don't understand your attitude when you arrived. If it was your intention to help us, why did you come in as much as admitting to having betrayed us? And Mockingbird says, I don't know, Wanda. I was upset, embarrassed. I've been played for a fool. And when I came in on all of you, I realized I was too late. Realized it was all my fault. Well, maybe it was something about seeing Hawkeye again. It seemed like he's always had the power to make me say the wrong thing, like I do. So, all right. And then Hank Pym says, all right, Mockingbird, we can get into the reasons for your behavior later. Right now, if we take the position of assuming you're telling the truth, that your presence here is not part of some continuing plot, I think you better show us the location of this Ursat's shield installation. So, at the moment, that is our only lead as to the current location of the Vision. And so you see them get on the Quinjet. So she's gonna show them where she was trapped. Again, some screen tones here. And so inside, Mockingbird says, Wanda, I don't think there are enough ways I can say how truly sorry I am for this has happened. We've been friends, you and I, and now. And the Scarlet Witch says, now I'm forced by circumstances to reconsider our friendship, Mockingbird. Even though I believe you when you said you were duped into assisting with the kidnapping of my husband, the fact remains that you were willing to assist in the formulation of the plan which made the kidnapping possible. And although I may understand your reasons, there is no way I can condone them. And you see here, oh my god, the Wasp. Oh my goodness, too many characters here. Say, there it is. The abandoned factory complex. According to our records, it's deserted and scheduled for demolition, and as such, ideally suited for the kind of activity Mockingbird described. And you can see the Quinjet heading. This is a nice drawing. As I say every time with John Byrne, he's a master story artist. And so Wasp says, make a slow pass at 500 feet, Hank. I'll shrink all the way down to Wasp size and see if I can find a way into... that is a big word. Reconnoiter? I have no idea what that word is. I wonder if it means like reconnaissance or something like that. So, all right. She's already in Wasp size. Does she mean even smaller? All right. Anyway, Hank Pym says, right, he was going to say darling, but I believe they're divorced or separated. See, even comic books, marriages don't last. Right, Jan, says Hank Pym. And Hawkeye says, do you mind, Wasp? In case you've forgotten, I'm the one who's supposed to be the West Coast chairman. I'll decide what we should do. And Wasp says, all right, Clint, what do you suggest? And then he's like, well, yeah, I guess if we make a slow pass at 500 feet and you shrink all the way down to Wasp size. So he's gonna go with her plan, and she says, "Good plan." So, oh, I love comic books, people. I am just love them. So, it's kind of funny that John Byrne accused Chris Claremont of being so wordy when he is so verbose himself. So the Wasp goes in, says nothing seems to be suspicious. They may not even know that Mockingbird has escaped. The place is too big to be searched. So she's using the antenna that Hank bioengineers so she can communicate with these ants here. They're gonna help her look at the place. Like, right. Let's get the tiny little creatures to look at the big place. She says, according to the ants, there's almost constant activity around that big door. So, um, so she's gonna try to get in, but it's sealed too tightly. She cannot get in. So these guys go in. So she decides, hey, that's my cue. And this guy's like, was that a bee? So, and the Wasp doesn't think that they're Russian because they both spoke perfect English and they weren't speaking Russian here. Wasp assumes that this is where um, uh, Mockingbird was held. So, but it's not here. And this guy comes in and goes, "How's he doing in there?" Okay, I guess he don't complain much. And he says here, seems kind of rough keeping an old man locked up like that. Since he was no use, would it hurt to let him go? Who's he gonna talk to? Sorry. Um and this other guy says, well, the Avengers for start. Look, we just do what we're told, right? They want the old geezer held, we hold him. And Wasp is like, who's he talking about? And so she goes right through and she's like, oh my gosh, it can't be. And it says here, sorry, dear readers, but the startling revelation behind the wise discovery will have to wait until next issue. So we're not going to know who it is that she went and found. So back in the Quinjet here, the Scarlet Witch is kind of thinking now about the Vision. So we're going to kind of get um, the origin of how they met. She was at this time captive of the barbarian known as Archon, and Vision went to rescue her. I love this part. For many months, we fought side by side as Avengers, never once daring to voice the secret emotions that were growing in our hearts. Oh my God, she fell in love with a toaster. Goodness gracious. And so Scarlet Witch says, until the time came of the search for the Celestial Madonna, three women were candidates for that cosmic role: Moondragon, Mantis, and myself. So it was, she says here, it was a strange adventure, unfolded the Vision, finally learned the secret of his beginning. So we have already kind of know about that, so we're going to keep on. He was created by Ultron. And so, no longer creature without a past, a fatherless enigma, the Vision spoke at last the words I so wanted to hear. Marry me. And she's like, oh yes, Vision, yes, yes, yes. Oh, for God's sakes. And so the Living Madonna became Mantis from the New Guardians, who was not part of not the New Guardians, the Guardians of the Galaxy. My God. So in their wedding, the ghost of Swordsman Immortus married them. I mean, goodness gracious. All right. Love the Quicksilver never liked it, and he says here, You know, I have never approved of your feelings you have shown for this machine, sister. If you think I will now sanctify this mockery of a marriage with my blessings, you are mistaken. So, either way, they went and they had kids. Don't ask me how that was possible. Of course, I think they retconned it that she created the kids because he obviously couldn't. So she used her powers to create the kids. So twin boys, William and Thomas. But at this time, nobody knew that it was retconned later. So if I remember correctly, when Bendis took over, that was, I believe, what was revealed or something that she created the kids. Or maybe later on. I think maybe Byrne does it too. So uh, we'll see. Like I said, I remember it, but I don't remember where. A lot of these stories I haven't read in years. So anyway, and so here is he called a governor, so you could say a nanny, taking care of the Scarlet Witch's kids, and she's gonna give them a bath, and she's gonna get some stuff, and then she's like, "Oh my lord, no!" And of course, John Byrne is going to make us wait another issue for this, so we're not revealed what happened here. So that's two things, and so here we go. They're firing on the Quinjet. I'm trying to kind of move this along. I do this with the X-Men. After some time, it got to keep things going. Otherwise, these videos are going to be like 40 minutes long, and it's just a lot of verbosity here. So, all right, Wonder Man is going to go put a kibosh on it, so off he goes. I do like the all black that is done. So here he lands on this, breaks it, and then ends up breaking the entire thing. And so Brock Cameron goes in and says, "What in blazes is going on here? Who authorized firing the plasma cannons?" And this guy's like, "You did." Like how he shows up to work in his suit here. Of course, he says here, "Don't you remember you ordered them programmed to fire automatically if the same aircraft made more than 3 passes over this installation in a specified time frame?" And he's like, "Don't quote me regulations I wrote. That's not just any aircraft, that's the Quinjet. And the whole point of this covert masquerade was to avoid directly engaging the Avengers." And Wonder Man shows up and says, "Well, if we can't get engaged, will we still able to see each other on the weekends?" So the Quinjet arrives. Here come the Avengers. Guy with gun. I almost said Wonder Woman. Scarlet Witch uses her hex powers to make this thing go tuck, 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 tuck. And then Mockingbird kicks him. And so they're going to go into the facility. Wonder Man is going to use one of his trick arrows that is going to... Oh, I love comic books. People, comic books are awesome. So here you can see the trick arrow, what it's doing. And so opens the door. And Hank Pym says, "Nice work, Hawkeye. But now we're going to need to split up if we're going to search for this place eventually." And Hawkeye's like, "Well, that was fun." So a group's going one way and another group is going the other way. Love the guy with the mustache here. And Mockingbird grabs him, and she wants to know where Vision is. He says something here, but he has a British accent, and she's like, "Drop that phony accent," but of course it is not. He causes her pain and says he's in section 31, and she asks for the code. She says the code's Osiris. And so Mockingbird says, "Come on, follow me." And so off they go, and she puts in the code and says, "Get ready, Wanda. This may not be pretty." And of course, Scarlet Witch says, "Bobby, what is that?" And Bobby says, "You wanted to see find your husband, Wanda?" I love this kind of panels. This just John Byrne started doing this more and more. He does it all the time in his Namor run. I think it's amazing. And there he is. They have completely gutted the Vision. Next issue, Better a Widow. All right, so West Coast Avengers 43, written and penciled by John Byrne, master storyteller. I'm sorry this was so long. It's a lot of words, people. Like and subscribe. I do thank you for listening. Goodbye.